All right, what's up, everybody? It's Ethan here, coming to you from the Signal Peak Trailhead outside of Silver City, New Mexico, here in the Gila National Forest. It's about 6:45 in the morning, and I'm going to get started with this amazing hike up to two peaks here in the Gila National Forest. Signal Peak is the first one, and then the second one is going to be Black Peak, which is the taller of the two. It's a very quiet morning up here. There's obviously two other vehicles there at the trailhead besides mine, but they were actually here last night when I came here to scope things out a little bit. So they're probably backpackers. And you can see I'm starting out on trail number 742 and the Signal Peak lookout. There's, I think, a fire lookout up there, and that's about 2.5 miles up from here. So yeah, this should be a pretty awesome hike. It looks like it's going to be about 9 miles round trip, 9 to 10 miles, something like that, and about 2,200 feet of elevation gain. So pretty solid hike. And the first peak, Signal Peak, is somewhere around like 8,900 feet, something like that. And then the second one, Black Peak, is just over 9,000. So I'm getting this hike started, and I'll get back to you guys a little further in on the trail. Okay, well, I'll be going moderately uphill. Nothing too crazy just yet. And just enjoying hiking through the forest. It's really nice and quiet. No views yet, but that's to be expected. This is a very dense forest, so you got to earn the views here. Most of the hiking trails in the Gila National Forest, you can get some amazing views, but you got to hike a little bit to get them first. But yeah, it's just a beautiful morning. It's like 56 degrees. Feels amazing right now. A little bit of a view through the trees. Wow. Beautiful morning. That's definitely another peak I'd like to climb. I love the all the cliffs and rocks up top. That's cool. Another little peek through the trees as I'm climbing up these steep switchbacks. Elevation gain is definitely picked up, and makes sense because that elevation gain was too moderate for going up like 1,800 feet in 2.5 miles. So makes sense that it got a little steeper. Getting up pretty high now, and I believe Signal Peak is like up there. I don't know if that's the actual summit, but that should be very close to it. I'm at about 8,300 feet right now, so I still got a decent amount of elevation to go, about 600 feet. But I am definitely getting closer. Showed on the map there's going to be another really steep section up ahead, and I'm sure that'll kind of be the final push. But yeah, it's really beautiful out here. Very green. When you think of like southwestern New Mexico, This probably isn't the type of scenery that comes to mind, but here we are. Well, that's definitely the best view of the day so far. Now, obviously the views are going to continue getting better the higher up I go, but so far that one's the best. You can see how overgrown the trail is here. And yeah, things are just really overgrown in general out here because it's been raining so much in this area, which was desperately needed because this area also had a pretty large wildfire earlier this year. So the fact that now it's been raining so much that it looks like this is definitely a good thing. Well, these views are definitely starting to get pretty epic. Wow, very beautiful, very green. It's turned out to be an awesome hike so far. Can't beat views like that. All right, coming up on the summit of Signal Peak, 8,980 feet. And apparently there's a dog up here. There's the fire lookout. All right, guys, made it up on top of the fire lookout on top of Signal Peak. There's looking over to my second destination today, Black Peak. It's the one in the back there. Not too much longer of a hike from here. Just basically going to be following the ridge all the way over there. But yeah, here are the views on top of Signal Peak. It's pretty awesome. There's Silver City down there. All right, off of the fire lookout and heading back down the trail. Well, this is technically a road here. There's a fire lookout through the trees there. You can barely see it. But yeah, that was super cool. Incredible views up there on that fire lookout. So it is, just to let you know, that fire lookout is manned, and luckily the guy who was up there was super cool and let me come up and take some pictures and record a video clip, and we sat and talked for a little while, and he was a really nice guy and he had a really friendly dog, so that was cool. And he was also lived in El Paso, but he does work out here for a summer job, just doing a fire watch. But yeah, wow, it's an incredible view up there. And of course now I'm headed back down, and so for the rest of the hike, pretty much, I don't know how much more like elevation loss and gain there is on this hike, but I'm basically just going to be going down and then back up to an unnamed point, and then down again and back up to Black Peak. And he also told me to watch for bears. Apparently black bears are frequently sighted around Black Peak, so he told me to watch out for that, which I will certainly heed his warning. All right, well, this is interesting. It says there's a trail right here. I'll have to look at the map. All right, so right after that gate there, there's a little split. And if you go left, that will just take you down the Signal Peak Road back to a different trailhead. And then if you go this way to the right, this will continue you on Trail 742 and start heading up towards the first peak, and then of course the second one, which is Black Peak. And it looks like, yeah, so we're not on the CDT yet, but the junction with the CDT is in 1.5 miles, which I believe is close to the summit of Black Peak. I don't think the CDT goes right over the summit of Black Peak, but it's really close. There's that, you can actually get there. That's another way to approach Black Peak. And instead of going over Signal Peak, you'll go over the Twin Sisters Peaks. But, you know, and that's a really cool hike too, from what I've heard, but it is much longer. It's about a 13-mile round trip hike rather than like a 9-mile round trip hike. So you're gonna have a lot more mileage, and I believe it's a little bit more elevation gain as well. It's closer to like almost 3,000 feet. But anyway, I should be on pretty much on the ridge for most of the rest of this hike, which is great because it means I'll be getting, you know, some views at least through the trees and stuff. And then of course on the actual summits, should get some good views. More epic views. It is really cool out here. And I've had this whole trail to myself, other than the guy at the fire lookout. I mean, I've really noticed that about a lot of the trails I've hiked here in southern New Mexico. You know, I mean, obviously some places like, you know, White Sands get a lot of people, but it seems like a lot of these trails up in the mountains, you know, whether it's here Silver City area or, you know, by Redozo, Cloudcroft, they just don't see a lot of foot traffic. And I mean, I swear you could never hike a trail like this in Colorado and not see a bunch of other people. I mean, there was maybe a couple of trails that you could find in Colorado like that, but they are few and far between. And in New Mexico, it seems to be more the rule than the exception. At least in southern New Mexico. I mean, I have hiked up in, you know, the Sangre de Cristos up in northern New Mexico, outside of like Taos and Santa Fe, and those trails tend to see more foot traffic. But yeah, southern New Mexico, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. It is one of the most underrated hiking areas in the country. Hiking or most other kind of outdoor activities you could want to do. Well, you can see how overgrown the trail is here. You can barely see it. Pretty much can't see it at all. I mean, I know that there is a trail here because the map says so, and there's definitely hints of there being a trail, but it is very overgrown, which I would note, I would highly recommend wearing long pants when doing this hike, unless you like ticks. Still getting some beautiful views out to the north. And it's honestly been a pretty mellow hike ever since leaving Signal Peak. Went down a couple hundred feet, and it's been mostly flat ever since. All right, so I just kind of skirted around the high point on the ridge, which is right up there. It's the high point between Signal and Black Peaks. Honestly, by staying just below it on the trail, you actually get better views. So I would recommend just staying on the trail. Like, that's not even it's not any kind of official named peak or anything. It's just a point on the ridge. And yeah, nothing all that special about it. No views or anything, just kind of forested. So from here, it's about another 3/4 of a mile to get to Black Peak. And that'll be my end destination for the day. Honestly, not a bad hike at all so far. All right, so I'm on the summit area of Black Peak. The actual summit is like right up there. So I'm gonna go up there and check it out, see if there's any views up there, or if I have to stay on the trail. The trail kind of loops around the summit and then joins up with the CDT like right over there. So there's a little rock here and there, and it looks like there's like a very faint social trail leading off from here. So I'm assuming this is the way to get up to the actual true summit. And the guy at the fire tower said there were some good views up here, so hopefully he's correct. All right, so I'm on the summit of Black Peak at 9,003 feet. And I'm getting a view to the south down to like Silver City, but it is very overgrown up here. There's a little structure here, as you can see, with like a solar panel. But there's honestly not much in the way of views or areas where you can sit and enjoy yourself here on the summit. I mean, if I could climb up there on top of that roof, I'm sure the views would be good up there, but I don't think I'm allowed to do that, so I can tell nobody's been up here in a while because it is just completely overgrown. These are all thorn bushes too. So yeah, this is, I will say Signal Peak was a much more enjoyable summit than Black Peak. There, that looks like the summit register right there, and there's the geological marker. So this is the summit for sure. But yeah, like I said, this summit is certainly not as nice as Signal Peak is. So I'm gonna go back down and join back up with the trail, and I'm gonna see if maybe there's a better view just by going to, you know, around the peak and connecting with the CDT trail, because it's not technically the summit, obviously, but if there's better views there and not as much overgrown weeds and thorn bushes and stuff, that's much preferable than being up here. All right, well, I'm back on the trail, and I mean, the views are better just on this random part of the trail than they were at the summit of Black Peak. But yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, I would say go up there because it's a pretty easy little detour off the trail. And even though there's not much in the way of views, you know, you do want to be able to say, I mean, you know, I guess it depends on what kind of person you are, but I personally like to be able to say that I actually hit the peak. And that is actually the tallest point in the Pinos Altos Mountains. So it is a high point, and so I think it's worthy of a, you know, quick detour off the trail, even though there's not really much in the ways of views up there. So like I said, I'm hiking around a little bit further. I'm going to try to find the intersection with the CDT, and I'll kind of explore the area a little bit, see if I can find a spot where there's some good views. And if not, I'm honestly just gonna start heading back towards Signal Peak, because the views from there were significantly better. Like significantly better. Well, I'm on the CDT, and once again, decent view of Silver City area, but not much else. Lots of wildflowers up here though. So, in a last-ditch effort to end this hike with some epic views, I'm gonna hike the opposite way on the CDT and see if there's any good views looking north. And if I don't see any, then I will just head back to Signal Peak. All right, well, I give up. I can't find any really good views up here. This is like the best view I've been able to find thus far. So it is what it is. Like I said, you know, it's I would say if you're looking just to do a hike with some good views, I would not fault you for turning around at Signal Peak. The only reason I would say continue on to Black Peak is if you just want to be able to say that you know, summited the high point of this mountain range, because it is the only peak in this range that goes over 9,000 feet. But yeah, in terms of the views, they're just not here. Signal Peak was absolutely the you know, the best part of this hike, without a doubt. But anyway, we'll find a spot to just sit and relax for a minute, and then I'll start heading back down, or back over towards Signal. All right, after a little break, drinking some water, Gatorade, and getting a little snack, I am heading back towards Signal Peak. So yeah, the hike between these two peaks is pretty easy too. It's you literally just go down about 200 feet, back up 100 feet, down 100 feet, and then back up 200 feet. So it's not very much elevation difference. And you do still get a good amount of views through the trees looking to the north as you're hiking up towards Black Peak. And then, like I said, when you're on the summit, you get a decent view to the south. So, you know, it's not like you're totally just in the forest the whole time with no views whatsoever. It's just not, like I said, after summiting Signal Peak and going up to the fire lookout and seeing those views, it's just not the same. But, you know, considering how short and easy it is to get over here from Signal Peak, I'd say just go for it. You know, why not? Throw it in, say that you summited the highest point in the in this area, in this mountain range. Because that's what hiking's all about, the bragging rights. All right, well, I'm about halfway back to Signal Peak. There's a look at the summit over there. You can see that fire tower up there. Yeah, that is definitely the best part of this hike, without a doubt. I mean, like I said, you do get some nice views through the trees for most of this hike, but that's really like the only place where you get like a totally unobstructed 360-degree view of everything around you. All right, back on top of Signal Peak, looking at where I came from. There's Black Peak over there. It's a little helicopter landing right here. That's pretty cool. And then of course the fire lookout is right up there. Pretty cool. All right, back on these steep switchbacks. Almost back down to the bottom here. Should have about a half a mile, if that, left to go. Probably about a half mile. And yeah, I finally saw one other hiker. But it's pretty crazy that on a beautiful day like this, Sunday, and I saw one guy at the fire lookout, who of course works for the Forest Service, and then one other person hiking the trail. Never see that kind of shit in Colorado, I'll tell you that right now. Or at least it's extremely rare. All right, I am back at the trailhead, pretty much. It is right there. And yeah, finishing up a pretty awesome hike. So this hike ended up being about 9.5 miles round trip. So right around what Summit Post said. And it was about 2,500 feet of total elevation gain, because there is a little bit of elevation gain on the way back. Not much, but a little bit. But anyway, that's all I got, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed this hike. Very nice, very quiet hike. And if you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys soon for another awesome hiking adventure.